My story is slightly different from the story of several other people pressured into marrying in their early 20s. I not get married ever in my life if I didn't want to. Society early on somehow molded my thinking into thinking that if I needed to be seen as a likable, good person, unexpected changes in life where I suddenly understood the need of education. I did not choose any of those options. I'm here by accident. So you keep quiet. So my journey has been slightly different. I'm sure there are many people like that. I'm not saying I'm unique. Definitely aware of the fact that I had not gone to any triple letter institute before coming to an IIM. So I was very confused. I didn't know whether I should drop it, go to an industry job. Postdoc is only a good option as a stepping stone to further your chances in the job market.
Hi everyone, my name is Anita Sharma and I welcome you all on INKPOTHUB Media once again. This is my humble submission that INKPOTHUB has given me an opportunity to celebrate the tough and challenging lives of scholars and researchers. My today's guest is Dr. Aparna Venugopal. Aparna is a PhD in Strategic Management area from IIM K. After her PhD, she immediately moved to Canada to pursue her postdoctoral studies, and during her postdoctoral research studies, she received the prestigious Commonwealth Elizabeth Scholarship as well. She has secured esteemed research grants such as the Canadian Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council Insight Grant. It appears to be extremely plain and simple, but her journey has been very tough and it was not full of roses. Trust me, this conversation is going to be the most honest conversations on INKPOTHUB Media so far. Before going to Aparna, I request you all to please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so that such type of motivational and inspiring stories reaches to your inbox as soon as we release it. Now let me take you to Aparna. Hi Aparna, we all are excited to learn your research journey.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to me, and I think this is a great thing that you're doing for researchers like us. I greatly appreciate that, and also your social venture. I think I knew about that.
Okay, thanks.
In my mind somewhere, I have maybe on LinkedIn or somewhere. I think I've liked it or something like that. And coming to the research journey question, my decision to join research was not prompted at that particular moment. I don't think that it was prompted at that particular moment because of a great passion for research, and that's the honest truth. But when you're within that community, I think most of us won't want to talk about that because you'll presume that it is perhaps not in your best interest to acknowledge that you're not here because you came out of a great love for research. We place a lot of importance and we place a lot of higher degree of dedication. We associate a higher degree of dedication, I think, with such vocations. And therefore, we don't want to probably acknowledge that we didn't come here because of a love for research. Having said that, my parents are academics. They're both college professors. So my mother started her PhD and then dropped out of it. So somewhere along the line, everyone I knew from early childhood was in academics. This is something that I've heard all my life. So it must have influenced my decision making. But as a girl, I did not want to study much. I mean, I was okay at studies, kind of good at studies, but did not want to study much further after my undergraduate degree. I wanted to get married, I wanted to have kids, and I wanted to get settled. And as ridiculous as some of my early dreams sound to me now, I'm not saying that that is a ridiculous dream. I'm saying some of my other dreams were ridiculous. I had a very simple vision about life. And when that didn't turn out the way I had hoped for, at the age of, I think, 25, 26, very early itself, I had to kind of decide on doing something else. That's when I probably started studying seriously. I did my master's then after having had a baby. And I had great support from my parents who were academics who always wanted me to study. So my story is slightly different from the story of several other people who might have been pressured into marrying in their early 20s. I was not. My parents were very willing to let me study as much as I wanted, not get married ever in my life if I didn't want to. They were very, very progressive. They still are extremely much more progressive than I am. But somehow society early on somehow molded my thinking into thinking that if I needed to be seen as a likable, good person, this is the path that I should choose. And again, I must have been influenced by some people in my family, etc., etc. But then research happened because of, as I said, because of certain changes in life, unexpected changes in life, where I suddenly understood the need of education to sustain myself, the need to be independent financially. And suddenly I realized I'm kind of good at studying. Why not put a bit more effort into that? And so for my master's, I was the first rank holder in University of Calicut. I got the JRF. I did not get to IIM through CAT. I got into IIM through JRF, which is also, I mean, it's popular, but still, when you are amongst other people who are coming from triple letter institutes and with CAT scores and are comparing CAT scores and lamenting over the fact that they did not get into PGP, but they've chosen FPM because they did not have a high CAT score. And then saying that, I love research, you're kind of, you don't acknowledge that I did not choose any of those options. I'm here by accident. So you keep quiet about it. And that's been my journey. So my journey has been slightly different. I'm sure there are many people like that. I'm not saying I'm unique. I'm saying there are many people like me. But we don't usually talk about that because we presume that JRF is slightly easier than CAT, maybe. Maybe. I'm not saying it is, but maybe we presume, or some people presume. So you don't want to acknowledge that. I was definitely aware of the fact that I had not gone to any triple letter institute before coming to an IIM, when many of my classmates were from NITs, IITs, and a variety of other triple letter, various grades of triple letter institutes. Again, I understand, having gone to an IIM, the badge of honor that comes along with being in a triple letter institute now. But at that time, it was intimidating to be around with someone like that. So research journey, I'm taking a long route in explaining all this. So even in the first year, I remember thinking that I was very confused, and I think it was very evident in the way I talked to my faculty advisor around that time and all of that. So I was very confused. I didn't know whether I should drop it, go to an industry job. Very confused around whether I was meant to do research at all. I think it's only in the second year of my doctoral program, FPM, that I found what I would call a true interest in research when I started studying research methods. I'd always found a fascination with that, but there was these FPM discussion courses or modules, whatever you call it, on organizational behavior research methods.
Seminar courses.
Discussion seminar courses were and I found that I actually liked reading about them, sometimes even rereading a couple of times. If it's an ASQ paper, I would have to read them 3-4 times to understand the methods. I suddenly found that, hey, I like this. I like reading this. I like dwelling deeper into it, going into the references, then finding out more. I actually enjoy the process. So it was on the job loving research. So it wasn't that I came with a love for research to understand. I understood what research is by engaging with such wonderful minds around me, because IIM Kolkata is, I think, blessed with extremely wonderful faculty in OBHR and even in other areas. And we had such great mentors and teachers and other my batchmates who were all brilliant. So in all those discussion groups and with my faculty members, I think I discovered a love for the process of research. But even afterwards, there are times when I keep getting confused. After that, after the doctoral program, I did my postdoc with MITACS scholarship in Canada. I had just applied, seeing an advertisement on AOM list. the thing about IIM is that it kind of gives you the exposure, right? About AOM, about egos, about BAM, etc., etc. Things that perhaps from other universities you might not get enough exposure to. So having seen something on AOM list, I'd gone, applied for the MITACS scholarship, got it, and went to Canada. Again, there I got a different kind of training altogether, very practical kind of
So
training.
when did you start your postdoc? Like when did you finish your FPM, and then when did you start postdoc?
I finished my FPM technically in 2016, but I, like you, but my convocation was in absentia, but in 2017. But by that time, I had gone to Canada.
Okay.
So I didn't come back from Canada for my convocation. Okay. But I started my postdoc before my convocation. Actually.
So I have one more question here. Could you please tell me, what is the right time for doing a postdoc? So what is the ideal time? Like immediately after that helps a lot, or some work experience between the two programs?
I had a short work experience because as soon as I defended my thesis, I had a faculty recruitment seminar at IIM Ahmedabad, which did not work out. I did not get the job. Then I applied, I think, to almost every single IIM in India, except for a couple of IIMs. And I was still waiting. The process takes a time, so I was still waiting. And I got a call from Myra School of Business in Mysore. So I went and worked there for 8 months before going to Canada. But during that time period, I got a call from, I got an offer from IIM Ranchi, which I did not, unfortunately, I could not accept. The offer was good and everything was great, but I could not accept because the offer from there and the offer from Canada, I think, came around the same time.
Okay.
So it was a choice. And that's when I thought of, actually, there was a choice between, do I go and work as an academic directly, or do I go work as a postdoc? And the advantage of choosing a postdoc at that time was because I thought, like you said, that if I do want to do a postdoctoral stint, probably right after my doctoral program is the right time. And I actually talked to 3 people who had already done their postdocs at various stages of their academic career, who are from who are faculty members at IIM Kozhikode. Okay. So I talked to my research advisor, who then told me to talk to all these 3 people. So that gave me a good perspective about what are the advantages and disadvantages of choosing a postdoc at various stages. And again, all these are very subjective, depending on what you want in life, what your priorities are, etc. If you don't mind delaying earning a steady income early on, and if you don't mind delaying the status of a full-time faculty a bit more, probably early on is good, because later on, I mean, as much as I've understood, you can, if you want to take a 1 year off, 5 years into your academic career as a faculty member, you can maybe take a sabbatical and go somewhere and do a research, 1 year of whole research at some good place. That there is always that option. Postdoc is different from that. Postdoc is just an extension of that early career stage, where you still get time to build up your research profile. If that's your goal, if you want to build up a good research profile before you enter your job market for a faculty position, I think early doing your postdoc right after your doctoral program is important. But you should focus, if you're going to be part of a large postdoctoral project where you don't foresee the opportunity to come out with good papers in the next couple of years, but you're just going to there just because you want to live abroad or something like that, then probably postdoc is not a good option. Postdoc is only a good option as a stepping stone to further your chances in the job market. So if you have gone somewhere and you've worked with a good faculty group and you've done your postdoc for 1 or 2 years, when you enter the job market, your profile is usually slightly better, slightly more enhanced than what you would have had at the end of your doctoral program. But yeah, there is an opportunity cost that you're entering the market 2 years after. Therefore, People will say that, anyway, you're going to go back as an assistant professor, whereas some of the people who were your batchmates would have been associate professors. As far as I know, you have to wear blinders and be focused on what you want and not compare based on all that. That never helps anyway. So if you are clear that you don't mind not getting the salary of an assistant professor right soon after you submit your thesis, then it's fine. And postdocs are paid. I mean, you can live. I mean, I have lived as a postdoc and as a research associate for 2.5, 3 years. So it's not that, I mean, it's not an extremely frugal living. I mean, it is frugal living, but you can manage. Even with a child, even with dependents, you can manage.
So what is this Queen Elizabeth Scholarship? You have been there on this?
Queen Elizabeth Scholarship was after the first year as a postdoc there as a MITACS student. So I was with the Center for Entrepreneurship, which is very practice oriented, it's very practitioner oriented. So somewhere in my mind, I also had I agree with you that when I teach, I am only quoting examples and cases from textbooks and papers that I've read. I don't have any examples or cases to talk about my own experience, because I've barely got 2 years of engineering experience very early on in my life. That's not enough to teach. I thought that's not enough to. I'm not saying that it is or isn't. Everything is subjective, but I didn't think it was enough. So working with the Center for Entrepreneurship, I thought would give me, because they were closely associated with Siemens and New Brunswick Electric Power, so they were associated with industry very closely in that project. I thought it will give me some insight into how industry academia partnerships work, and it did. It also taught me how to write research grants. Mm-hmm. So after the first year, Queen Elizabeth was sort of a pat on the back for, I don't know, you have done well in the first year of your postdoc. So Queen Elizabeth was an add-on to my MITACS scholarship. So it meant I got a bit more money. And Queen Elizabeth Scholarship, I think the application goes from the university. So I didn't apply for it. The university applies on your behalf saying, they should be about it. I think that's how it works. I'm pretty sure I didn't apply. So that's how it worked. And in my case, I felt like it was more of an encouragement to work harder. Mm-hmm. Saying, okay, so in the first year, you have done a decent job. And in the second year, we expect you to be much more better. Mm-hmm. And this is just a sort of an encouragement. And in that sense, I think those kinds of scholarships, whether it be Marie Curie or, nowadays I find there are more like Erasmus, Marie Curie, all those scholarships. There are several really good scholarships. MITACS, Queen Elizabeth there in Canada, but obviously Fulbright, and here I think in the European countries, Erasmus and Vini Vidi Vici, the Netherlands one. And then Marie Curie. I think all doctoral students should be looking out for all these scholarships in their 4th, 5th years. So you start with one, and then maybe you can apply for another one to prolong your period of stay at a place. And that helps. All these things help. Whether you're applying for it yourself and writing the grant, then that gives you, that helps build an ability to write grants. And I did that too. When I was in Canada, I did that too. Mm-hmm. So an exposure like that helps. And if you cannot go and work in industry, this next best thing is to get a project as a postdoc where there is close industry collaboration. So you can at least go and understand how it works. Mm-hmm. So this is a shortcut to understand how the industry works, I think. Okay. Not all projects need be like that, but at least this was.
So any specific suggestion to the potential PhD students in India, and what should they do if they want to go abroad in these given times?
Right now, I think it's difficult to give anyone any ideas, because job stability, grant stabilities, research support stabilities, everything is a bit shaken. Everyone is and in hard times, I think everyone thinks about going back to their roots. Like we just wake up thinking, why am I in a different place? Why shouldn't I be home with my parents? And they're all alone there. And so right now, I think it's a bit difficult to understand that clearly. But if it was about a year ago and things were much more clearer, the best way to understand whether you'll fit and whether you'll be happy working in a culture that is not your own is to first perhaps go present papers at conferences. The way research is criticized, the way people engage with research, the way work proceeds in various cultures are very different, and you might not exactly like it. So perhaps first start by presenting your papers at conferences abroad. And I know there are financial constraints to even that. You might not be, you get a certain amount of financial aid from the university or wherever you're doing your PhD, but sometimes that might not be enough. So also choose international conferences within your own country where eminent scholars are coming into your country. So start with that perhaps. That's how I started. I used to go to AIB and all the international conferences happening in India at first in my third year. In my fourth year and fifth year, I started going abroad for conferences and workshops. Always keep a lookout for all these paid sort of workshops where they'll say, we'll select 20 best papers and we'll pay for everything. I've got from Oikos, I went for the workshop in Wedges and Zurich because they paid for everything. So if you are constrained by finances and you want to find out, always keep an eye out for all that on conference alerts and sign up on all sorts of lists, on AOM lists, on BAM list, on everywhere, and always keep an eye out for all these things. Start with that by at least your 4th, 5th year, and start writing. And there are two versions to it. Some people will say that you should not write a single word until your research mind is very clear, and you should not start writing till the 5th year, etc. By that logic, you will not be presenting anywhere.
No.
Yeah. So some people will say that 4th, 5th year, you should, till that you should not start writing anything, and only then should you start going. And if you don't write anything, you don't have anything to present, right? I disagree with that. I think you should start writing by your 3rd year. It's in your 3rd year, at least in IIMs, right? It's in your 3rd year that you present the research proposal for the first time. I think at that time itself, if you can start writing, even if you write, the only thing to improve writing is writing. My writing is still bad, I think, but the only thing to improve writing is writing. So write every day, even if it is just one paragraph, write every day. And then if you feel even nothing is completely perfect, everything is flawed, that is okay. Try to send it out to people, and people will criticize it and rip you apart, and there will be horrible reviews, and you have to have a thick skin. But send it out to conferences, send it out to journals. From 4th year itself, start doing all those things. You're not going to get, you might get successful right at the inception itself, but probably you won't, and that is okay. But you just keep being perseverant, and those are qualities, I think, that are kind of necessary in any career to be successful. Again, people kind of associate that with research, saying you have to be dedicated, motivated, inspired, perseverant. I think all those qualities are required anyway if you want to be successful. And again, success is subjective. My idea of success might not be somebody else's idea of success. I might feel successful with a very minimal bank balance and a publication that was published in some obscure journal just because it was published. That is my idea of success, and I'm happy. So again, you have to decide what your priorities are, but yeah, for people who want to go abroad, conferences, writing, first conferences within India, then conferences abroad, and then always keeping an eye out for calls for postdocs and things like that. I used to also write to people saying I'd like to work with you, like cold emails sort of thing. I was very aggressive in that sense. Nothing has ever worked out. Let me be honest about that. Nothing has ever worked out. But some people are very polite at writing back and saying I don't have funds, or whatever right now. But I would write to anyone I felt like I wanted to work with. I would write, and I've seen that work out.
In IIM Kozhikode that every student would go to some conference which is paid, or some kind of pre-doc or post-doc. It was a trend when I was doing my FPM. I remember that everybody who is going abroad is from IIM Kozhikode. So it was like a surprise to me, like how it is happening over there and it is not happening in Indore. I also wanted to go out for my pre-doc. I appeared for the Commonwealth Scholarship. It did not happen. We only had one senior who went there. So he was all inspiration for us that, okay, he can go, so we can also go. But then in IIM Kozhikode, everybody was going.
I think it's a mob behavior. I don't know.
It happens.
Because you're seeing people around you do that and achieve and benefit from that in their writing, in their publication, in their future career options. So then you feel like, yeah, I can do it too. I should also say this, one of the most successful FPMs from IIM Kozhikode would be Vidya Panikar, who is right now a lecturer at Loughborough. And she did not do a pre-doc, she did not do a postdoc, and as far as I know, she did not do many conferences abroad either. I mean, she did some conferences abroad, but not, all over the world sort of thing. She did some conferences. But her writing was always good. She was always very good in research methods. So if your fundamentals are good, if your personal circumstances don't, or you don't want to travel, then just sticking to goals, just being exposed to all the right journal outlets and writing and getting your publication out will anyway get you where you want to be.
Thank you so much. It was really, really pleasure to have your view.
Press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.